I never thought my best friend of 18 years would try to destroy my marriage, but that's exactly what happened. I met Sarah when I was 11 years old. My family had just moved to a new country and my sister-in-law introduced us. We clicked immediately. For almost 2 decades, she was the person I called when I needed to vent, when I was happy, when I was sad. We grew up together. We shared clothes, secrets, and dreams. By the time I was 29, married to my husband Mark for 3 years with a 2-year-old son, I thought I knew her better than anyone. I was wrong. I work in an office from 9 to 2 with a 30-minute break around 11. Sometimes I walk 5 minutes to Mark's office and eat second breakfast with him. Sometimes I go to a cafe near my job. Sarah and I talk regularly and I'd mention if I had to travel for work. That's just normal friend stuff, right? You tell your best friend when you'll be out of town. Last week I had a work trip scheduled for Wednesday. But Tuesday night a red alert came through, severe weather warning, flooding expected. My trip got cancelled. So Wednesday morning I stayed home with our son. Mark left at 6 a.m. to close up his business and set up flood protection. By 7:30 he was back home making breakfast. It didn't even start raining until 1 in the afternoon. We spent the whole day together, the three of us. Didn't go out until Friday. That's important, remember that. On Saturday Sarah and I have the same gym class. After we finished she pulled me aside. Her face was serious. She said we needed to talk in private. We went out to my car and she told me she had something difficult to share. On Wednesday, she said, I saw your husband with a woman, they were making out and your kid was in the car. I froze. For a second I couldn't breathe, but then my brain kicked in. Wednesday, the day of the red alert. The day Mark and I were home together with our son, making pancakes, watching cartoons, hiding from the rain. The day we didn't leave the house. I asked her 3 times if she was sure it was Wednesday. She said yes 3 times. I asked what time. Around 11 a.m. she said. I asked if it was during the red alert. Yes, I asked if she was 100% sure. She nodded and launched into a full description. Mark making out with a gorgeous Barbie-looking blonde woman in a car, our son in the backseat. She described everything, the car color, the clothes, the way they were kissing. I didn't scream, I didn't cry, I just sat there feeling like the world had tilted. Because the woman she described, it didn't exist, but the lie did. I said, that's interesting because I was home with Mark and our son all day Wednesday. We never left the house. Sarah's face went pale, she started stammering. Maybe it was another day, maybe I got the day wrong. But I knew she'd chosen Wednesday because she knew I was supposed to be out of town. She'd planned it. She wanted me to believe my husband was cheating so I'd leave him, so I'd be a single mom, so I'd have more time to hang out with her. That's what came out later when I pushed her. She admitted she was jealous. She said I'd been too focused on my family and she missed the way things used to be. She thought if I was divorced, I'd be fun again. Fun. She wanted me to destroy my marriage for her entertainment. I drove home in a daze. Mark was playing with our son in the living room. I told him everything. He was furious, of course, but more than that, he was hurt. Sarah had been like a sister to both of us. We'd invited her to our wedding, to our son's first birthday. She'd been a constant presence. I confronted her again that evening. I called her and said, you tried to break up my family. Why? She cried. She apologized. She said she didn't know what came over her, but I couldn't trust a word. The lie was too deliberate, too detailed. She'd spent time crafting that story. I told her I needed space. Blocked her number, deleted social media. But the damage was done, not to my marriage. Mark and I are solid. We talked it through. We hugged our son a little tighter. But to my sense of reality. How could someone I trusted for 18 years try to hurt me like that? What kind of person does that? I still don't know the full answer. Maybe I never will. But I learned something. Sometimes the people closest to you are the ones holding the knife. And they don't even think they're doing anything wrong. That was the first story. But it wasn't the last, because life has a way of piling on. Not long after, another situation unfolded, this time at work, that made me question everything again. I thought the worst betrayal would come from a friend. I was wrong. It came from a coworker who wanted my job. I live with chronic pain every day. Imagine waking up and already being at a 6 on the pain scale where most people are at a 2 or 3. That's my baseline. Some days I'm higher, rare days lower. I have canes, but I only use them when I'm at a 7 or above. I have a handicap placard on my rearview mirror, a marker on my license plate. I filed all the paperwork with my job for accommodations. Legally disabled, physically disabled, the whole 9 yards. I'm open about it because hiding it only makes it harder. I work 2 jobs. My full-time job pays the bills. My part-time job is at a place I actually enjoy. It keeps me busy, helps with my anxiety, pads my savings. I was recently moved to a new location closer to home. I loved my new team. My boss, Amy, was great, and then there was Casey. Casey and I were both assistant coordinators reporting to Amy. We got along okay at first, but Casey had been after a promotion for years. Everyone knew it. I was open that I didn't want a promotion. My part-time job is part-time for a reason. I already have a full-time job. Casey saw me as competition anyway. The trouble started on a Sunday. I was having a bad pain day, 7 or 8 on the scale. I used my cane. I parked in the handicap spot. I did everything right, but someone saw me, and that someone was Casey. About a week later, I found out Casey had been following me, not just at work, outside of work. Casey took video of me walking into a grocery store without my cane on a good day when my pain level was a 4. Then Casey took that video to HR and claimed I was faking my disability. that I was lying to get accommodations and a handicap placard, that I was cheating the system. I didn't know any of this at first. I just noticed Casey acting weird, staring at me, whispering with other coworkers. Then Amy called me into her office. She looked uncomfortable. She told me Casey had filed a formal complaint. That's when I learned about the video. Casey had followed me on a Saturday, filmed me from across a parking lot, zoomed in on my face, my body, my hands, then played it for HR as proof I wasn't disabled. The HR rep, a woman named Diane, sat me down and asked if I had documentation. I handed over my doctor's notes, my pain management plan, my handicap placard registration, the ADA paperwork I'd filed when I was hired. Diane nodded and said she'd review everything, but the look on her face told me she was taking Casey seriously. I was furious and scared. I'm black, I'm disabled, and I live in Texas. I know how these things go. People see a black woman with a handicap placard and assume it's a scam. They don't see the daily struggle, the hidden pain, the years of appointments and medications and procedures. They just see someone who doesn't look disabled. I filed a counter-complaint, stalking, invasion of privacy, hostile workplace. I told Amy everything. Amy believed me. She'd seen me use my cane, seen me struggle on bad days, but Amy wasn't the one making the decision. HR was. The next week, Casey escalated. Started leaving notes on my desk, passive-aggressive comments in team meetings. Some people get all the perks for doing nothing. Must be nice to park up front. I ignored it. But then Casey started showing up at places I went outside work, the grocery store, the pharmacy. My favorite cafe, I'd see Casey's car in the parking lot watching. I called the police. They said there was nothing they could do unless Casey threatened me physically. Just a workplace dispute, the officer said. Stay away from each other. Easy for him to say. I went back to HR. I demanded a formal investigation. Diane said they'd look into it, but it would take time. Meanwhile, Casey kept filming. I found out later that Casey had even hired a private investigator to follow me for a full weekend. Yeah, a private investigator, to prove I wasn't disabled. Because apparently my doctor's notes, my handicap placard, my cane, my years of medical records, none of that was enough. The PI followed me to a park where I was walking my dog. On that day I was having a good day, pain at a 4. I walked normally. No cane. The PI recorded it and gave the footage to Casey, who then submitted it to HR as new evidence. Diane called me in again. This is concerning, she said, holding up a USB drive. This video shows you walking without any assistance. How do you explain that? I felt my blood boil. I have chronic pain, I said. It fluctuates. On good days I don't need a cane. That doesn't mean I'm not disabled. That's like saying a cancer patient is fine because they're not throwing up right this second. Diane didn't seem convinced. She said they'd need a full medical evaluation from an independent doctor. I agreed because I had nothing to hide, but the whole process felt like a punishment. I was the victim here and I was the one being investigated. Meanwhile, Casey was still working there, still smirking at me, still leaving notes. I started documenting everything. Every interaction, every car I saw, every time I felt watched. I printed out a calendar and marked the days. I saved voicemails, texts, emails. I built a case. It took 3 weeks. The independent doctor confirmed my condition. HR finally ruled in my favor. Casey was reprimanded and put on probation, but that wasn't enough for me. I went to a lawyer. I filed a formal complaint with the EEOC. I reported Casey's stalking to the police again, this time with a paper trail. The DA's office finally agreed to issue a no-contact order, but the damage was done. I couldn't go to work without feeling sick. I started having panic attacks in the parking lot. My pain levels spiked from the stress. I had to take medical leave. My full-time job was understanding. My part-time job, Amy held my position, but I didn't know how I could go back. Casey got fired eventually, but not before trying to convince everyone I was a fraud. I lost some coworkers who believed Casey's narrative. I lost my sense of safety. I lost the ability to walk into a grocery store without scanning the parking lot. People think disabilities are visible all the time. They don't understand that some days I can run and some days I can't even stand. They see one moment and judge a whole life. And when someone like Casey weaponizes that ignorance, it's not just an insult, it's an invasion, it's a violation. It's someone trying to strip away the accommodations I fought for, that I need, that I deserve. I still haven't fully recovered. But I learned something from that nightmare. The system is built for people who look the part. If you don't fit their picture of disability, you're a liar until proven otherwise. And even then, some people will never believe you. That was the second story. But a third one hit even closer to home. Because nothing prepares you for finding your husband half naked with his ex-wife at your son's birthday party. I never thought I'd have to say this, but my husband cheated on me with his ex-wife at our son's birthday party. And the worst part, his family was in on it. Let me back up. I'm 27, my husband Peter is 37. We've been together for 6 years, married for 3. Peter is bisexual and I've always been fine with that. I was also fine with his ex-wife Allison, who he divorced about a year before we met. They have no kids together, but they were married for a few years before it fell apart. I never met her in person, only saw pictures. She seemed nice enough, I guess. The problem was Peter's family. They're pretty homophobic. They never accepted our marriage. They kept telling Peter he should get back together with Allison, that he made a mistake leaving her, that being with a man was a phase. I tried to ignore it. We lived 2 states away, so we only saw them a few times a year. For the most part, it was manageable. We have a son, Jack. He's 7 years old. Peter and I adopted him after we got married. I love that kid like he's my own blood. He calls me dad. We're a family, and that family meant everything to me. Then came Jack's birthday last month. We decided to celebrate at Peter's hometown at his parents' house. It was a big deal. Jack's first birthday after the adoption was finalized. I wanted it to be perfect. We drove down on a Friday, spent Saturday setting up decorations, balloons, a cake with little race cars on it. Jack was so excited. His cousins were coming, grandparents. It was going to be great. Except Peter's mom had other plans. She invited Allison without telling me, without telling Peter. She just showed up in the middle of the party with a present for Jack. I saw her walk through the back gate and my stomach dropped. I didn't know who she was at first, just a blonde woman in a sundress. But then Peter's mom went up to her and hugged her, and I heard her say, "Allison, so glad you could make it." I froze. I looked at Peter. He looked just as shocked as I was, but he didn't say anything. He didn't tell her to leave. He just stood there. I wanted to scream. I wanted to make a scene. But Jack was right there, blowing out candles with his cousins. His little face was covered in frosting. He was so happy. I couldn't ruin that, so I swallowed it. I told myself I'd deal with it later. I spent the next hour glued to Jack's side, playing with him, helping him open presents, taking photos. I avoided looking at Allison. I avoided looking at Peter. I just focused on my son. Then it was time for the cake. I turned to call Peter and Allison over, and they were gone, both of them. I asked one of the cousins if they'd seen them. The kid shrugged. I felt a knot form in my chest. I went inside the house. The living room was empty, kitchen empty. I walked down the hallway toward Peter's old bedroom. The door was cracked open. I pushed it, and I saw them. They were both half undressed. Peter's shirt was off. Allison's dress was pulled down. They were kissing, his hands on her waist. They hadn't noticed me yet. I just stood there for what felt like a full minute, watching my husband with his ex-wife. My brain couldn't process it. This was real. This was happening at my son's birthday party. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just turned around and walked back out. I went to the backyard, cut the cake, sang happy birthday. I laughed when Jack smashed his piece. I pretended everything was fine. Because that's what you do when you're in shock. People started leaving around 6. That's when Peter and Allison finally came back out. They looked flushed but composed. Peter walked up to me with a frown. "You cut the cake without me," he said. "That was disrespectful." I stared at him. I couldn't believe the audacity. "I'm sorry," I said, my voice flat. "I just thought you'd be too busy getting into your ex-wife's pants." His face went white. He started stammering, but I didn't let him finish. I grabbed Jack's hand, packed our bags, and drove straight to the hotel. I didn't say another word to Peter's family. I didn't say goodbye. At the hotel, I put Jack to bed. Then I sat on the bathroom floor and cried. I cried for an hour. Then I called my brother. He told me to leave, to take Jack and go home, to file for divorce. He was right. The next morning, Peter showed up at the hotel room. He was crying, apologizing, saying it meant nothing, that Allison came onto him, that he was weak. I listened. Then I told him I wanted a separation. He begged. I said no. I drove home that afternoon with Jack. I told him Daddy Peter was staying with Grandma for a while. Jack didn't ask questions. He's a smart kid, though. I think he knew something was wrong. The next week, I filed for divorce. That's when things got really ugly. Peter's family started calling me. His mom left voicemails saying I was overreacting, that it was just a kiss, that I should forgive him because boys will be boys. My own parents were supportive but confused. They liked Peter. They couldn't believe he'd do this. But then I found out the truth about Allison, and it changed everything. I started digging. I asked old friends, looked at old social media posts. I found out that Allison and Peter started dating when he was 1. She was 24 at the time. She was a family friend. She groomed him. She basically raised him to be her husband. They got married when he turned 18, and she controlled everything: his finances, his friendships, his life. The divorce only happened because she tried to isolate him from his own parents, and they finally stepped in. But even then, they still loved her. They thought she was the best thing for him. I realized Peter never really had a chance. He was a victim too, but that didn't excuse what he did. He was an adult. He could have chosen differently. He could have gone to therapy, cut contact, protected our marriage. Instead, he let his ex-wife waltz back in and destroy everything. Then came the worst part. I found out from an old mutual friend that Allison had been telling people Jack was her son, that I was just the stepdad, the side piece. She told Peter's family that she was Jack's real mother, that the adoption was a mistake, that she deserved to be in his life. And Peter's family believed her. They started asking Peter to bring Jack to see her. They wanted her to be Jack's real mom. I lost it. I hired a lawyer. I filed for full custody. I told the judge about the grooming, about the stalking, about the invasion of our lives. Peter fought me at first, but eventually he backed down. He signed over his parental rights. I got sole custody of Jack. The divorce was finalized last month. Peter moved back to his hometown. He's living with his parents again. I heard he started seeing a therapist. I hope it helps him. I don't hate him. I pity him, but I can never trust him again. As for Allison, I haven't seen her since that day. I have a restraining order against her. She tried to contact me a few times, but I blocked her. I don't want her anywhere near Jack. The hardest part is explaining to Jack why his other daddy doesn't come around anymore. I told him that sometimes grown-ups make choices that hurt people and that we have to protect ourselves. He cried, I cried, we're both still healing. My family and friends have been amazing. My brother helped me move out of the house we shared with Peter. My mom watches Jack when I have to work late. I'm slowly rebuilding my life. It's not easy. I still have nights where I wake up and see that image Peter and Allison half-dressed in that bedroom. It's seared into my brain, but I'm stronger now. I know what I deserve. And I'm not going to let anyone take my son away from me. I never thought I'd be a single dad at 27. But here I am, and you know what? I'm okay. Jack and I are okay. We're going to be just fine. I never thought I'd have to write this, but here I am. My name is not important, but I'm 29, female, and my best friend Sarah just tried to destroy my marriage. And I still don't know why. We met when I was 11. My family had just moved to a new country. I was this scared little kid who didn't speak the language, and my sister-in-law introduced me to Sarah. She was my first friend here. For 18 years, she was the person I called when my parents fought, when I got my first period, when I got into college. She was at my wedding. She held my baby when he was born. She was family. I thought we were close. I thought she loved me. Last Wednesday changed everything. I work in an office from 9 to 2, then I'm usually home with my 2-year-old. My husband runs his own business about 5 minutes from my office. Sometimes I take my lunch break at his place. Sometimes I travel for work to other cities. Sarah and I text almost every day, so she knows my schedule. I casually mentioned I had a work trip to another city that Wednesday. Tuesday night there was a red alert for severe weather, flooding expected. My company canceled the trip, so I stayed home Wednesday. My son was with me. My husband woke up at 6 a.m., drove to his business to close up and put flood barriers, and was back home by 7:30. He made breakfast. It didn't even start raining until 1 p.m. We spent the whole day together playing with our son, watching movies, eating leftovers. It was a nice, boring day. Then at 3 p.m. Sarah texted, "Are you at home already? It's flooding where you were supposed to be." I replied, "Home safe." Didn't think anything of it. We stayed indoors until Friday. Saturday morning we had our usual gym class. Afterwards Sarah pulled me aside. Her face was serious. She said, "I need to tell you something. Wednesday I saw your husband with a woman. They were making out and your kid was in the car." I froze. My heart stopped. For a split second I believed her, then my brain caught up. "Wednesday?" I asked. "Yes, Wednesday." "Are you sure it was Wednesday?" 100%. About 11 a.m. during the red alert? "Yes, it was just starting to rain. They were in a parked car near the park. Your son was in the back seat." I couldn't believe it. She described the woman, blonde, tall, gorgeous, like a Barbie doll. She said my husband looked happy, that they were kissing for a long time. I asked her 3 times if she was absolutely sure it was Wednesday. Each time she said yes. She even said she felt bad telling me, but she had to. I didn't cry, I didn't scream. I just looked at her and said, "There's no way that happened because I was home with my husband all day Wednesday. He never left. We were together from 6 a.m. until bedtime." Sarah's face went white. She stammered, "Maybe it was a different day. Maybe I was confused. You said you were sure 3 times." She started backpedaling fast. "Oh, I must have mixed up the days. Maybe it was Tuesday or Thursday." I asked, "Did you even see anything at all?" She got defensive. "I saw something. I'm not lying. Maybe it was Wednesday, but it happened. Don't you trust me?" That was the moment everything shifted. I realized she had planned this. She'd waited for a day I was supposedly out of town, then invented a story. She didn't know my work trip was canceled. She didn't know the red alert kept us home. She thought I'd believe her because I'd be too hurt to fact-check. I told her we were done. I walked away. She called after me crying, but I didn't turn around. That night I called my husband. He was shocked. Then he was furious. He wanted to confront her. I said no, I'd handle it, but I couldn't sleep. I stayed up until 3 a.m. Replaying every conversation Sarah and I ever had, I tried to find a reason she'd do this. We had a mutual friend group. She was jealous of my marriage. She'd been single for a few years and made comments about how I was lucky. She once said, "You have a husband and a kid, you don't need anyone else." I laughed it off then. Now it sounded like a threat. The next day I texted her, "Why did you lie?" She replied, "I was trying to protect you. I saw something. I was wrong about the day." "You're overreacting." I didn't respond. I blocked her number. I blocked her on social media. I told my husband to do the same, but she didn't stop. She started messaging mutual friends, telling them I was abusive and controlling. She said I was isolating my husband from his friends. She told people I had a drinking problem. None of it was true. Some of our friends believed her. A couple of them stopped talking to me. That hurt more than the lie itself. I started seeing a therapist. I needed to understand why someone I trusted for 18 years would try to break my family apart. The therapist suggested Sarah might have borderline personality traits, or maybe she was just jealous and lonely. I don't know, I'll never know for sure. What I do know is that I almost lost my husband over this. Not because I believed her, but because the suspicion lingered. What if she had seen something another day? What if my husband was lying to me? I had to ask him over and over to prove where he was each day that week. He did. He showed me his GPS history, his receipts, his texts. He was completely innocent, but the damage was done. The trust between us was cracked. We're working on it. We're in couples therapy now. Sarah hasn't contacted me since the blocking. I heard she moved cities a few months later. I don't care. I've made new friends. I trust them slowly, carefully. I still don't know why she did it. Maybe I never will, but I learned something. Some people keep you close only because you make them feel better about themselves. And when you start being happy, they can't stand it. I used to think my best friend would never hurt me. I was wrong. That Wednesday could have ended my marriage. Instead, it showed me how strong it really is. And I'm grateful for that, even if it came with so much pain. I have a condition called chronic pain. Not the kind you see on TV, not the kind where I'm bedridden every day. I explain it like this. Normal people walk around at a pain level of 1 or 2 out of 10, maybe 3 after a bad workout. For me, the baseline is a 6. Imagine stepping on a Lego and that spike of sharp ouch, that's an 8 for a second. Or pulling a muscle and feeling that dull ache every time you move, that's my daily life. Some days I'm higher, rare blessed days I drop to a 4 or even lower by some miracle. I'm physically and legally disabled. I have the paperwork filed with my full-time job and my part-time job. I have a handicap marker on my license plate and a placard on my rearview mirror. I own canes, but I only use them when I'm at a 7 or above. I don't like the stairs. I don't like the questions. I just want to do my job and go home. I work 2 jobs. My full-time is one thing. My part-time is a coordinator role at a small office near my house. The team is great. My boss, Amy, is understanding and fair. She knows about my condition and never makes a big deal out of it. My coworker Casey and I both work as assistant coordinators to Amy. Casey wants a promotion to full-time coordinator more than anything. Everyone knows it. I've been open that I don't want that promotion. I already have a full-time job. I take the part-time to pad my savings and because I like the work. Staying busy helps my anxiety. Casey doesn't believe me. She thinks I'm in her way. It started small, little comments about how I look fine. Once she said, "You're always so active in the office, I forget you're supposed to be in pain." I laughed it off. Then she started tracking my movements. I noticed her watching me walk to the break room. She'd ask where I parked, how long my lunch was if I took the stairs. I thought I was overreacting. Last Sunday was a bad pain day. I was at a 7. I used my cane. I parked in the handicap spot. That evening, I got a text from a friend. "Did you know someone filmed you at the grocery store today?" My stomach dropped. She sent me a link. It was a short video, maybe 30 seconds, taken from inside a car. I was walking out of the store with my cane, then without the cane, because I had leaned it against the cart while I loaded groceries into the trunk. The video was captioned, "Disabled my ass." She's faking it for the parking spot. It was Casey's car. I recognized the dashboard ornament. I didn't scream, I didn't cry. I sat on my couch for an hour shaking. Then I called Amy. Amy was horrified. She said she'd handle it. Monday morning, she called Casey into her office. I heard voices raised. Casey came out red-faced, refused to look at me. Amy told me later that Casey admitted to taking the video but claimed she was just concerned about parking abuse. She said I was a fraud and that she had a right to expose me. Amy put Casey on a final written warning. She said any more hostility would result in termination. I thought it was over. It was. 2 weeks later, I was at a gas station on my way home. I needed to fill up and grab a snack. As I got out of my car, I saw Casey's car pull into the station. She parked at the pump behind me. I ignored her. I went inside, paid, came back out. When I got to my car, Casey was standing there, phone in hand, recording me. "What are you doing?" I asked. "Just making sure you're really disabled," she said. "You're walking fine now." I was, on a good day. This was a good day. I didn't need my cane. I didn't owe her an explanation. "You're violating my privacy," I said. "Stop recording." She didn't stop. She followed me to my driver's door, still filming. "I'm just documenting. You can't get a handicap placard if you don't need it. That's fraud." I got in my car and locked the doors. She stood there filming through the window. I started the engine. She finally backed off. I drove away, hands shaking. I went straight to the police station. I filed a report for stalking and harassment. The officer, a white man in his 50s, listened with a flat expression. He asked, "Did she touch you?" "No." "Did she threaten you?" "She followed me and recorded me against my will." He sighed. "That's not really a crime here. She has a right to film in public. We can't do much unless she escalates." I said, "She's targeting me because I'm disabled and I'm black. You think that's not relevant?" He shifted in his chair. "Ma'am, I'm just telling you the law. If she threatens you, call us back." I left with a case number and nothing else. I called Amy again. She said Casey had taken a personal day. I told her about the gas station. Amy was silent for a long moment. Then she said, "I need to talk to HR." This is a pattern. The next day, Casey wasn't at work. Amy called me into her office. "I had a meeting with HR this morning. Casey filed a complaint against you. She says you've been hostile and that you're using your disability to get preferential treatment." I couldn't breathe. "That's not true." "I know, I told them, but they have to investigate. They'll interview everyone. I need you to write down everything that's happened. Dates, times, witnesses." I spent that night writing a timeline, the video. The gas station, the comments, the way she watched me. I sent it to Amy. She forwarded it to HR. The investigation took 2 weeks. During that time, Casey avoided me. She'd walk the other way in the hallway. She ate lunch at her desk instead of the break room. I thought maybe it would blow over. Then I got an email from HR. They had reviewed all evidence. They found no wrongdoing on my part. They also found Casey's behavior unprofessional but not severe enough to terminate. She got a second warning. I got a note in my file that I was a valued employee. I felt like I'd lost. A month later, I was leaving the grocery store again. I wasn't using my cane that day. I was one of those blessed days. As I walked to my car, I saw a flash, a camera. I turned. Casey was standing 3 cars away, phone up. I didn't say anything. I walked to my car, got in, and drove to the police station again. Different officer this time, a younger woman. She listened. She took my statement. She said, "We can't charge her for filming in public, but we can document it. If it continues, we might be able to get a restraining order." I asked, "What if she posts the video online?" She shrugged. "Then you can sue for defamation, but that's civil, not criminal." I went home and cried, not because I was scared, but because I was tired. I had done everything right. I filed paperwork. I used my placard properly. I didn't ask for special treatment. I just wanted to work and live my life. And someone I saw every day decided I was a liar. I started carrying a small notebook. Every time I saw Casey, I wrote it down. Time, location, what she was doing. I told Amy. Amy told HR. HR said they'd keep the file open. Then last week, I found out Casey was promoted, not to coordinator. That position was given to someone else from another branch. But she got a senior assistant role with a raise. Amy was furious. She told me they said her performance is otherwise good and the incidents were not considered harassment after the warnings. I asked Amy if I should quit. She said no. She said Casey is the problem, not me. I'm still there. Every day I walk into that office and see her. She smiles at me now, a fake, tight smile. She knows she got away with it. I reported her to the police 3 times. Nothing happened. I reported her to HR twice. She got a promotion. I'm still here, still in pain, still using my cane on bad days, still parking in handicapped spots. I don't know what the end of this story looks like. Maybe I'll find a new job. Maybe Casey will get bored and move on. But I know one thing, the system doesn't protect people like me, not really. You have to have a visible, undeniable disability. You have to be in a wheelchair. You have to be missing a limb. Otherwise, you're just a faker to people like Casey. I'm not a faker. I'm a person who lives with pain every single day. And I'm tired of being filmed, followed, and harassed for it. I haven't given up, I can't. But some days the pain is worse than others. And not just the physical kind. I thought I knew Sarah. I met her when I was 11, fresh off the plane from another country, no friends, no clue how to fit in. My future sister-in-law introduced us and Sarah just took me under her wing. We were inseparable through middle school, high school, college, into adulthood. She was at my wedding. She held my baby when he was 2 hours old. She was my best friend. Now I'm 29, married for 5 years to a man I love with a 2-year-old son. Sarah is still single. She travels a lot. She's always saying she wants to find someone like my husband. I never thought much of it. I thought she was happy for me. Last week, everything changed. I work in an office from 9 to 2 most days. My husband runs his own business 5 minutes away. I take my lunch break at a cafe or sometimes I walk over to his office to say hi. Sarah and I talk almost every day. She knows my schedule. She knows when I travel for work. Last Tuesday night, a red alert came in. Flood warnings. My work trip to the next city was canceled. Wednesday morning, my husband went out at 6 to check his business, put up flood barriers, and was back home by 7:30 making breakfast. It didn't even start raining until 1 in the afternoon. We stayed home all day, just the 3 of us. I didn't leave the house, neither did he. At 3 p.m., Sarah texted, "Are you home already? It's flooding where you were supposed to be." I wrote back, "Home safe, red alert, canceled my trip." We didn't go out until Friday. Saturday morning, same gym class. Sarah pulled me aside after. She looked serious, almost nervous. She said we needed to talk in private. We went out to my car. She sat in the passenger seat and turned to me. "On Wednesday, I saw your husband with a woman," she said. "They were making out. Your kid was in the car." I froze. My whole body went cold, but then something clicked. Wednesday, I was home all day. My husband was home all day. My baby was home all day. I asked her 3 times, "Are you sure it was Wednesday?" "Yes," she said. "Yes, yes." "What time?" "About 11 a.m. during the red alert." "Yes." "Are you 100% sure?" She nodded. Then she started describing it. My husband making out with a gorgeous blonde Barbie lookalike. She gave details, the car, the street, the way he held her. I sat there silent for a full minute. Then I said, "That's impossible. I was home with him all day. We didn't leave the house until Friday." Her face went blank. Then she stumbled. Oh, maybe I got the day wrong. Maybe it was another day. You said Wednesday 3 times. I must have mixed up the days. It was definitely this week." "Sarah, we didn't go anywhere all week, not even to the grocery store. My husband didn't leave the house." She started backtracking. "Maybe it wasn't him. Maybe I misidentified. You described him perfectly." She had no answer. She just stared at me. I said, "Why are you lying?" She got defensive. "I'm not lying. I was trying to help you. I saw something and I thought you should know. You wanted me to believe my husband cheated on me with our child in the car. Well, you should be grateful I told you." That was when everything shifted. I realized she wasn't confused. She had a plan. She thought I was out of town. She thought I'd believe her. She thought she could break up my marriage. I asked her why. She said, "Because you never have time for me anymore. You're always with him. You're always with the baby. I miss how it used to be." I was speechless. I drove home. I told my husband. He was furious. He wanted to call her. I said no, I needed to think. I didn't speak to her for 2 days. Then I texted her. "I need to know the truth. Did you make this up?" She replied, "I'm sorry. I just wanted you to have more time for me. I thought if you were a single mom, we could hang out and travel together." I couldn't believe what I was reading. She wanted me to divorce my husband so she could have a traveling buddy. I blocked her. I told my husband everything. We changed our locks. I told our mutual friends. Some believed me. Some said I was overreacting. One of them said she was just trying to look out for you. No, she was. She was trying to destroy my family because she was lonely. It's been a month. I still think about it every day. I think about what would have happened if I hadn't been home that Wednesday, if I had believed her, if I had confronted my husband, if I had packed a bag and left. She almost took everything from me, and I still don't know why. I mean, I know the surface reason. She wanted more of my time. But that's not a reason, that's a symptom. She was jealous, she was selfish. She thought my happiness was less important than her convenience. I haven't seen her since, I don't plan to. My marriage is fine, my husband is fine, my baby is fine, but I lost a friend. And I realized that some people you've known your whole life are capable of things you never imagined. I'm still processing it. Some days I'm angry, some days I'm sad. Some days I just sit and wonder what kind of person does that. And I don't have an answer. I don't think I ever will. Not all betrayals come from friends. Sometimes they come from the person you trust most. I'm 27, male, married to my husband Peter for 3 years, together for 6. He's 10 years older than me, 37. Before we met, he was married to a woman named Allison. They divorced a year before we got together. Peter is bisexual and I never had a problem with that. I never had a problem with Allison either. I didn't know her well, but she seemed fine. The problem was his family. They're homophobic. Every holiday, every birthday, every phone call, his mother would find a way to say, "You should have stayed with Allison. She was good for you. This is wrong." I heard it so many times I stopped reacting. I just smiled and changed the subject. We adopted our son Jack when he was 7. I love him like he's my own blood. He's my son, period. 2 weeks ago, it was Jack's birthday. We drove to Peter's hometown to celebrate with his family. I didn't want to. I knew there would be tension. But Jack wanted to see his grandparents and I wasn't going to ruin his day. The party was at his mother's house. Everything was set up in the backyard. Balloons, cake, presents, cousins running around. Jack was happy. That's all I cared about. Then his mother announced that she had a surprise. She walked to the front door and opened it, and in walked Allison, his ex-wife. She was smiling, holding a gift bag. She hugged Peter's mother like she was family. She hugged Peter's father. Then she came over to me and said, "Happy birthday, Jack." I looked at Peter. He looked away. I didn't want to make a scene. Jack was right there, so I swallowed it. I spent the next hour playing with Jack and his cousins. I didn't talk to Allison. I didn't look at her. I focused on my son. About an hour in, I noticed Peter and Allison were gone. I checked the kitchen, the living room, the bathroom, nothing. Then I walked down the hall to Peter's old bedroom. The door was slightly open. I pushed it. They were taking their clothes off. Peter's shirt was half unbuttoned. Allison's dress was pulled down. They were kissing. His hands were on her waist. I stood there for maybe 3 seconds. Then I turned around and walked back to the birthday party. I didn't scream, I didn't cry, I didn't say a word. I cut the cake with Jack. I helped him open presents. I laughed when he got a toy truck. I was on autopilot. People started leaving around 6. Peter and Allison came back outside. He looked flushed. She had fixed her makeup. Peter pulled me aside near the garage. "Why did you cut the cake without me?" he said. "That was disrespectful." I looked at him. I said, "I'm sorry. I just thought you'd be too busy getting into your ex-wife's pants." He went pale. "What? I saw you in your old bedroom. You were undressing each other." He didn't deny it. He just stood there with his mouth open. I said, "I'm taking Jack to the hotel." I grabbed our son, put him in the car, and drove away. I didn't cry until I got to the hotel room. Then I sat on the bathroom floor and sobbed. When Jack was asleep, I called my sister. She told me to come home. I said I couldn't leave Jack's stuff. She said, "Then stay one more day and leave in the morning." I didn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Peter called 17 times. I didn't answer. The next morning, I packed our bags and drove home. I didn't go back to his mother's house. I didn't say goodbye. When I got home, Peter was already there. He had driven back that night. He was sitting on the couch. He looked like he hadn't slept either. I told Jack to go to his room and play. Then I sat down across from Peter. He said, "It wasn't what it looked like." I said, "What was it then?" "Because it looked like you were cheating on me with your ex-wife while my son's birthday party was happening 20 feet away." He said, "She kissed me first. I was surprised. I didn't know what to do. You were taking your clothes off. That's not a surprise. That's a choice." He started crying. He said he loved me. He said it was a mistake. He said his mother pressured him, that Allison had been texting him for weeks, that he felt guilty. I said, "You should feel guilty." I told him I needed space. I took Jack and stayed with my sister for 3 days. I didn't talk to Peter. I didn't respond to his texts. I thought about leaving him. I thought about filing for divorce. But then Jack asked, "When are we going home?" And I realized I couldn't just tear his life apart without being sure. I went back home. Peter had cleaned the whole house. He had made dinner. He had bought flowers. He apologized again. He said he would go to therapy. He said he would cut off his mother. He said he would block Allison. I told him, "I need time. I don't trust you right now." That was 2 weeks ago. He's been going to therapy. He blocked his mother and Allison. He's been trying, but I still see it when I close my eyes. I see them in that room. I see his hands on her. And then I found out something worse. I found out from his sister that Allison had been sending him explicit photos for months. He never told me. He never blocked her. He never said a word. I asked him about it. He admitted it. He said, "I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't want to upset you." I said, "You don't think this is more upsetting?" I don't know what I'm going to do. I love him. I love our son, but I don't know if I can trust him again. Every time he says he loves me, I wonder if he said the same thing to her. Every time he holds me, I wonder whose skin he's remembering. His family still calls him. He doesn't answer, but I know they'll keep trying. They want him back with her. They think I'm a phase. I'm not a phase. I'm his husband. I'm the father of his child, but I don't know if that's enough. I'm still here. I'm still trying. But I don't know if I'll ever stop seeing that door open just a crack and the two of them inside. I'm still here. I'm still trying. But I don't know if I'll ever stop seeing that door open just a crack and the two of them inside. That story wrecked me when I first read it. But the next one, it made me realize betrayal doesn't always come from someone you love. Sometimes it comes from a coworker who's never even had dinner with you. My name is not important, but I'm a 32-year-old woman living in Texas. I have a condition called chronic pain. I've had it for years. It's not something you can see. On good days, I walk fine. On bad days, I use a cane. On really bad days, I use two canes or just stay home, but I work two jobs because sitting still makes my anxiety worse. My full-time job is in an office. My part-time job is at a smaller location closer to my house. I was moved there about 6 months ago because the location expanded and they needed extra help. I love my new team. My boss, Amy, is amazing. She actually listens when I talk about my disability. She never makes me feel like I'm faking. But there's one coworker, Casey. She's in the same position as me, assistant coordinator. She's wanted a promotion for years. Everyone knows it. I've never wanted a promotion because my full-time job already takes up enough of my life. I do this part-time job because I like staying busy and the extra money helps. Casey and I got along okay at first. We'd chat during breaks. She'd ask about my weekend, nothing weird. But I started noticing little things. She'd watch me walk across the office. She'd comment on how I was moving that day. "You seem really energetic today," she'd say, and there was something in her voice that felt like an accusation. I shrugged it off. I thought I was overreacting, then it got worse. One Sunday, I was having a really bad pain day. I was at a 7 or 8 on the pain scale. I had my cane with me. I was limping. I stopped at a gas station to get some Tylenol and a snack before heading to my part-time job. I parked, grabbed my cane, and hobbled inside. I bought my stuff, went back to my car, and drove to work. Standard day for me. The next day at work, Casey cornered me in the break room. She had her phone in her hand. She said, "I saw you at the gas station yesterday. You were walking just fine. No cane, no limping. You were practically skipping." I stared at her. "What are you talking about? I was using my cane. I was limping." "I have video," she said, and she showed me. She had filmed me from across the parking lot. The video quality was crap, but you could see me walking from my car to the gas station door. I was holding my cane, but the angle made it look like I was barely using it. And yes, I was moving faster than I do on really bad days, but only because I was trying to get inside quickly. That's the thing about chronic pain. Sometimes you push through it because you have to. "That doesn't mean it's not there," I said. "Why are you filming me outside of work?" She said, "I'm just trying to prove you're not actually disabled. You're taking advantage of the system. You get special treatment because of your parking placard and your flexible schedule." I felt my face go hot. "I have a legal disability. I'm not faking anything." She shrugged and walked away. I went straight to Amy's office. I told her everything. Amy's face went pale. She said, "She filmed you at a gas station." "That's stalking." She said she'd handle it. I thought it was over. I thought Amy would talk to Casey and that would be the end of it, but Casey didn't stop. 2 days later, I got a notification on my phone from a security app I had installed on my car after a previous break-in. Someone had been loitering near my car at night. I checked the footage. It was Casey. She was looking into my windows, taking pictures of my parking placard, my wheelchair ramp in the trunk, everything. I reported it to the police. They said they'd look into it, but nothing happened. Casey escalated. She went to HR and claimed I was faking my disability to get more breaks and a reserved parking spot. She showed them the video from the gas station. HR called me in. I showed them my medical records, my disability documentation, my placard registration. They said it was resolved, but I could tell they were annoyed at the drama. Then things got scary. One night I got home and found a note on my windshield. It said, "We know you're faking, you're a fraud." I didn't recognize the handwriting, but I knew it was Casey. I reported it to the police again. They took a report but said they couldn't prove it was her. Amy pulled me aside and said Casey had been acting strange. She was making comments about how I did look disabled and how it was unfair that I got accommodations. Amy said she was documenting everything, but HR still wasn't doing much. Then the update came. Casey was fired, not because of the stalking, but because she got caught lying about her timesheet. She claimed she was working extra hours, but security footage showed her leaving early. That was the nail in the coffin. But before she left, she made one last move. She sent an email to the entire department, including external partners, accusing me of disability fraud. She attached a video compilation of me walking without a cane at various times. She said I had fooled the system and that she was being retaliated against for exposing me. It was a total smear campaign. Amy called me immediately. She said not to read the emails, but I already had. My phone was blowing up. Some people believed her. I got nasty DMs. Someone called me a con artist. I broke down crying in Amy's office. The legal team got involved. They sent a cease and desist to Casey. They also sent a company-wide email clarifying my disability and explaining that Casey had been terminated for cause. But the damage was done. I still have people at work who look at me differently. Some of them believe her. I can tell. I'm still trying to get the police to press charges for stalking, but Texas cops are slow and I'm a black woman with a disability. They don't always take me seriously. I have a lawyer now. I'm pursuing a restraining order. But what gets me is that Casey didn't even want my job. She wanted the promotion. She thought if she discredited me, Amy would see her as a hero. Instead, she lost everything. I still think about that video. I still wonder who else might be watching me. I still check my rearview mirror when I drive to work. Some betrayals are loud, like a best friend lying about your husband. Some are quiet, like a coworker hiding in a parking lot with her phone, but they all leave a mark. I don't know if I'll ever feel safe again, but I'm still showing up. I still go to work. I still use my cane when I need it. And I'm not going to hide just because someone thought my pain wasn't real. That's the thing about chronic pain, it doesn't care what anyone believes. It just keeps hurting, and I keep living.